It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker of the day today. It's been a while, Reverend Whitley. We're glad to have you back up on the podium. Reverend Bill Whitley is a minister here at the Metaphysical Chapel of Life and has been a chapel member since October 25th, 1985. Bill currently serves as president of the board of directors of the Church of Enlightenment, our mother church, and is the lead minister here at the Metaphysical Chapel of Life. Bill is a founding member of the Church of Enlightenment, which was November 9th, 1997, and the Metaphysical Chapel of Life chartered through the Church of Enlightenment on April 26, 1998. So Bill was instrumental in helping to establish both of those organizations. He's previously served on the board of directors of the Bridge of Light and was a founding minister with the Chapel of Life chartered through the Bridge of Light in 1986. This church has had a lot of powerful iterations. Bill was a guiding influence that helped the Chapel of Life evolve into our current Metaphysical Chapel of Life. So if you want to know this chapel's history, that's the person to talk to. And again, I'm so grateful to be here with you today, and I will turn it over to you, Bill.
Yes, I don't believe I've spoken since Christmas, when we had the Christmas service here. And on the December the 25th, Debbie and I both got sick, and we have been working our way through various stages of illness ever since. So I'm glad to be back here standing from the podium and able to see and speak to everybody. I usually start by, I give titles to all of my talks, okay? So I usually start by telling you what the title of my talk is going to be. And the title of my talk today is going to be Duality, Physics, Quantum Physics, Metaphysics, String Theory, and Spirituality. And I'd like to begin, as I normally do, by reading scripture. And the scripture I'm reading from is Job 26:10. He draws the horizon like a circle on the water at the place where light and darkness meet. And I share next a Zen proverb, which most people in the room have heard this proverb and will recognize it right away. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Well, in this day and time, that's not very relative. Most people in this room have never chopped wood and carried water. I'll guarantee you the current generation that's coming up have never chopped wood and carried water, so they don't even know what it's talking about, okay? I've done both. I've chopped wood and I've carried water. When I was a child, the first house we lived in had no plumbing inside of it, of any kind, had no running water. The nearest water was out in the garden with a hand pump, and you had to have a bucket to prime it and then pump the water and carry it into the house. And if you wanted any heat during the day, you had to go out in the backyard and chop the wood and put it in the wood stove, which was the same stove we cooked on. So I understand chop wood and carry water. A little more modern term was presented to me in the class with Pam at sunrise service. This is a quote from the book by Jack Kornfield. After the ecstasy, the laundry. After the ecstasy, the laundry. And next I want to share with you Bill's version. This is Bill's version of that. Before enlightenment, we are humans being. Now, this is slightly different from Wayne Dyer's, okay, because he had some similar words too. I'm going to say that again. Before enlightenment, we are humans being. After enlightenment, we are aware humans being. I said today that I wanted to talk about duality, physics, quantum physics, metaphysics, string theory, and spirituality. However, my primary interest is going to be on duality. And the reason for that is because the concept of physics, quantum physics, metaphysics as related to spirituality have been well addressed by speakers preceding me. Dina, Jenny, Stanley, Nolan, and Sharon have all recently discussed it in their talks. So it's in our consciousness, on our minds. So I'm continuing with it. As a matter of fact, Sharon began the theme with her talks on the energy of vibration and how the sound affects us. If you go on YouTube and you type in solfeggio frequencies, you will find music composed at specific frequencies for healing. That is an example of the practical application of physics. Their talks also tied everything back to the Kabbalion and to the metaphysical principles that we believe. So I don't have to explain all that stuff to you because they've already done it. For those that were here in attendance, for the others, you might want to read something about that, okay? So why am I talking about these subjects today? Because they are currently in our awareness, my awareness, and the world's awareness. And why do I say that? I hope by the end of my talk today to leave you with a practical application of the concept of duality that you will remember. Modern society, for the most part, views quantum physics and metaphysics as a duality. A duality of opposites. Modern science views quantum physics and metaphysics as a duality of opposites. Modern quantum physics is now beginning to prove many of the ancient teachings that are recorded in the Sanskrit from centuries ago. Even to the point of discovering and proving the existence of solar systems that the ancients described in their teachings in the Sanskrit proverbs and writings. That's fascinating fact. These teachers could see planets and solar systems and drew them and wrote about them. But science hadn't seen them until recently, and now they're proving that those existed. The universe, which is infinitely expansive, is one of lightness and darkness. Hence the two songs are used, addressed in light and darkness. We are a universe within ourselves, and we are filled with lightness and darkness. You look at me and what you see is not what is. I do not normally talk about myself unless asked. And in Debbie's words, she calls it, she says, I'm self-reserved. No, you don't talk to nobody, just sit there, whatever. In my mother's words, as she described it throughout my life, he's shy. So I'm self-reserved and shy based on the perspective of those two people who are close to me. So my entire career was in the shipyard, and it was in the nuclear field. I was hired into the nuclear engineering division in the radiological control department. The first thing I had to do after being hired was to attend a 6-month school to learn the basics of nuclear energy. So yes, these subjects are of interest to me. These subjects are also the interest of quite a lot of others, or we would not have had so many talks about them. Currently, one of the top movies worldwide is Oppenheimer, about the father of the atomic bomb. Atomic energy, nuclear energy, can be used to create or to destroy. Nuclear energy can be the generator of an atomic bomb that destroys all that it touches, or nuclear reactors, which are the generators of electricity that power ships and produce electricity for our homes. Duality. All of life is a duality. In fact, I believe that everything is a duality: spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. Throughout most of my career, I kept a poem in my desk, and which I read quite often when I was at work. And the title of that poem was Duality of the Rib Cage. And I found it was written in both Sanskrit and translated into English. And the Sanskrit was above the English words. So you could see the Sanskrit and you could see the English both as you read the poem. I think that it took me until now to really understand what that poet was saying. Because I used to believe that he was saying that we have to do everything possible to stay on the spiritual path. Then I began to question my belief, which led me to another question. Does duality exist on the spiritual path? Can one be too spiritual? Can one be too spiritual? Years ago, I was introduced to a man who I might describe as too spiritual, or maybe too into the spiritual pursuit. He dressed in all white. He was vegan. He only pursued spiritual practices and nothing else. And he would not allow anyone to touch him. Because when I was introduced to him, like I normally do, my first inclination was either to shake his hand or hug him. Don't touch me. Just like that. Don't touch me. Well, that made me have a hurt feeling. Was that a spiritual expression? If it hurt someone or made someone feel hurt, I don't think what we were seeing there was spirituality. I don't think what we were seeing there was spiritual acceptance. I don't think what we were seeing there was an exchange of spiritual energy. He essentially cut himself off from life. Was he too spiritual? We recently, Debbie and I, and probably some other people in this room are going to be familiar with what I'm getting ready to say right now. We recently watched the show 1923 on TV. I'm sure some of you've seen 1923. Okay, segments of the show were about how the Native Americans were treated. They had to give up their names. The men had to choose an English name. The women and the children were sent to indoctrination schools that were run by the Catholic Church. The whole point of these schools, and the men changed their name, and they were forbidden to use their language. They could not speak in their language. If any Native American spoke in their native language, they were punished. So the whole point of this relocation, or re-indoctrination school, was to re-indoctrinate every Native American and change them into English. English speaking, English names, and English language. Okay, the priest and the nuns who ran the program for the women and children used the term, we have to bring them to the light. The light, spirituality, God. And they used this numerous times. And as a Native American would resist, they would beat them and beat them into submission. And in many instances, they beat them so hard that they died. And in the back of all of these places, there were graveyards that were filled with Native American children and adult women that had been beaten to death in the name of the light, in the name of spirituality, in the name of bringing the heathen to the light, the pagans to the light. Were these priests and nuns too spiritual? Many years ago, I attended a retreat and workshop. It was led by Pir of Antioch Khan. He was the leader of Sufism in the Western world. In the several days that I attended this retreat and workshop with him, I observed him, and I had a reason for observing him very closely. I was taking psychology at the time, and I had to write a paper on observations, okay? So I was acutely looking at all kinds of people to see what they did, how they acted, what was their tick, what was their repeated action, okay? So it made me kind of really aware of looking at people. So as I observed what was going on, I noticed the people, and I was watching the people, and there were people in awe of this man. They were bowing to him, they were kneeling to him. And one man actually crawled on his hands and knees across the floor and kissed Pure Valiant's feet. While others saw a highly evolved spiritual being, I saw a sad, lonely old man who I would describe as severely depressed. Can both exist at once? Yes. It's called duality. We all experience it. We all walk a path of duality. We all walk a path of light and dark. Pure Valiant was an enlightened person who seemed also a depressed person. Before enlightenment, we are humans being. After enlightenment, we are aware humans being. Can you be an enlightened being and a sad, lonely, depressed person? Can you? I'm asking you, can you be? Are you trying to be too spiritual? Are you trying to be too spiritual? If I spend all of my time and energy trying to be a spiritual person, I will always be looking for things that are wrong with me. I'm going to say that again. If I spend all of my time and energy trying to be a spiritual person, I will always be looking for things that are wrong with me. Do you want to spend your life looking for things that are wrong with you? We do not walk a straight path. We walk a meandering path. Sometimes we're in the light. Sometimes we're in the dark. Sometimes we are in the spiritual, and sometimes we're in the physical. We chose the physical body that we might enjoy life. What is the value of spirituality without practical application? If your spirituality does not improve your humanity, if your spirituality does not improve your humanity, is it really spirituality? Real spirituality helps you accept your own humanity and the humanity of others. On the spiritual path, we receive a lot of spiritual, metaphysical. Got that one, didn't I?
Fixed it.
We can hear you.
Let's try that one again. On our spiritual path, we receive a lot of spiritual, metaphysical teachings. Spirituality is accepting what you have done in life to get where you are. You know what I said? Spirituality. Spirituality is accepting what you have done in life to get where you are. And I don't care what it is that you've done, okay? In the darkness or in the light. If you hadn't done it, you wouldn't be sitting here listening to me right now. You can have numerous teachers. You can have numerous classes. You can read thousands of books. And I can say that in doing so, it helped me to become a more spiritual person. If I were to describe myself as a spiritual person, even that doesn't feel right. I don't even like the way it feels when I say that. However, what good is all of this spiritual pursuit to us if it has no practical application? Until you accept yourself, your own humanity, what you are expressing may not be viewed as spirituality. Spirituality is acceptance of self. Spirituality is acceptance of both the light and the dark aspects of our being. Acceptance of self is centering yourself. I'd like to read again from Scripture. He draws the horizon like a circle on the water at the place where light and darkness meet. Was my view of pure Blanc any less than the view of those who saw him as a highly evolved spiritual being? No, it was not. It was not any less. It was not any more. One can see the real person and still feel that deep spiritual love for them, because we are always both light and dark, spiritual and physical. You can't reject the light, and you cannot reject the dark. If I can look at you, knowing all of you, if I can look at you, knowing all of you, and still love you, do you think that there is any moment that God does not love you? And I say that with heart. I look at you, and there's not a person in this room who I do not love. I don't care what you've done. I don't care what your path has been. That would not change my feeling of love. If I, a single individual walking in the earth as a human being, can say that and see that, feel that, and know that, do you think that there's any way possible that God could not love you? The answer is no. There is no way that God cannot love you no matter what you've done. Before enlightenment, we are humans being. After enlightenment, we are aware humans being. Awareness. Aware means self-awareness. It does not mean self-condemnation. It does not mean ridicule. It does not mean self-punishment. It does not mean self-judgment. And I'd like now to share with you a quote from Jaddu Krishnamurti. And Krishnamurti said, and I quote, "The highest form of human intelligence is to observe yourself without judgment." I'll read that again. The highest form of human intelligence is to observe yourself without judgment. I began by saying that I hope by the end of my talk today to leave you with a practical application of the concept of duality that you will remember. Meditate, control the mind, letting go seems to be a duality. A conflict of the mind is in conflict and you cannot let go. If the mind is in conflict, can it let go? And we can compare this to the planting of a seed. You plant the seed in the ground. The seed does not need to control anything to grow. All you have to do is put it in the ground, put it in the earth, water it, have sunlight, and it grows. It doesn't make any decisions back and forth. It doesn't have any conflict. We can also plant a seed in the mind, and instead of trying to control it, we can let it grow. When we decide that we want to be able to meditate, we simply plant the seed of desire in our mind. We water it with love from our heart, and we shine our inner spiritual light on the seed and simply allow it to grow. If you try to control your mind to meditate, you set up a duality. The duality sets up a decision in the mind. Do I stay in control? We've all experienced that. We all, when we first started meditating, said, I can't do this. That's because you're still trying to control it. Do it, let go. This is conflict. We cannot meditate if we're in conflict. So that's the reason we can't meditate. We're in conflict. The decisions of life are the same way. We have a vast array of metaphysical modalities and tools that we can use to bridge the gap of duality, okay? We are all familiar with the use of tools on the metaphysical path. Dowsing, scrying, that's reading a crystal ball, runes, pendulum, tarot, crystals, stones, energy modalities such as Reiki and numerous other healing modalities that you're familiar with. Today, I want to leave you with a new tool to help you make decisions and bridge the gap of duality. This is a tool that nobody in metaphysics has ever heard of. Only one person on the face of this planet has ever heard of this. Bill. So you're going to get something today that nobody else has ever heard. And you can use it as a tool to understand duality and how to apply duality in your life. In December of 2021, my talk, it was Christmas for the Christmas talk. All the ministers are up and they share a message and they give a talk and they share their message as a gift to everyone. And my talk and my gift on Christmas in 2021 was the gift of an earworm. Earworm. Now, that was totally out of context for Bill Whitley. Nobody expected to hear me stand up here and say, I give you a gift for Christmas and I'm giving you the gift of an earworm. Does everybody understand what an earworm is? An earworm is when a song gets in your head and you can't get rid of it. You know, you start thinking of a song like let there be peace on earth and it won't go away. It keeps staying there, it keeps staying there, it keeps staying there. That's called an earworm. And that my point when I said I give you the gift of an earworm was put a song in your head that uplifts you physically, spiritually, emotionally, and makes you feel happy. And let it be your earworm and let it play for the entire Christmas season and on. I'm going to give you something today that's just as outrageous as that. And this is going to be the gift of a new tool. No one on the metaphysical path has ever heard of, okay? I suggest that you view what I'm about to share with you as simply another tool which you can add to your basket of tools. All the stuff you've learned thus far, up to this point, all the tools you use, the crystals, the stones, the runes, the tarot, everything. Just add this to your basket. And I call this tool Bill's string theory from quantum physics. What is string theory in simple form? Instead of treating subatomic particles as the fundamental building blocks of matter, string theory says that everything is made of unbelievably tiny strings whose vibrations produce effect that we interpret as atoms, electrons, and quarks. That it implies that all things are connected, all things are one, which is our belief. We are all one with each other and with God and with the universe, with string theory, quantum physics, quarks, atoms, electrons, protons, neutrons. Okay, here's Bill's string theory. You ready? Think of the universe. In the universe, there are stars, planets, asteroids, gases, other objects, and black holes. Science has discovered there are stars 10,000 times brighter than our sun. This light is so bright and intense that it can destroy anything that comes too close. Science has also discovered that there are black holes that are so void of light that they appear to be totally black. The black holes are whirling energy centers that suck in light, stars, and planets, and they devour them, totally destroy them, and turn them back into subatomic particles, quarks, whatever. In other words, they devour light and matter. Well, now you might ask, where in the world is he going with this? Okay, I'm really going somewhere with it, all right? How can this be a practical application, a tool to help me with my life decisions? Okay, so here is how to use this tool. Sit quietly, as I said before, and imagine the universe. On your left are a group of suns, each 10,000 times larger than the Earth. On your right is a black hole that devours anything that comes within its reach. You are in the center. Now, imagine a string of energy coming from each and pass into one ear and through the other, passing through your head, and you're in the center. The string is attached to the black hole. The string is attached to the 10,000 suns that are 10,000 times larger than our sun. That string is continuous. It's not broken. Now understand that you've been given the gift of the will of God. And you don't have to imagine it because it's true. You have been given free will. And you can move the light and the dark whenever you choose to do so. Also understand that this is the movement on your path between the physical and the spiritual. Remember, I said your path is not straight. It is meandering. It goes here, then it goes here. It goes here, and it goes here. Sometimes you feel spiritual. Sometimes you feel physical. And you do physical things. Well, don't go blaming yourself for doing the physical thing and saying, I'm not spiritual. Don't go judging yourself, condemning yourself. You were put on this earth to be a human being. If you feel you're too far on one side or the other, you have the ability to sit down, meditate, and change your direction by moving your strength. If you feel you're too close to the sun and you're getting hot from your spirituality, move it this way a little bit. Bring the darkness closer to you, the shadow, and cool down some. If you feel you're being devoured by the darkness, and an example of being devoured is depression. If you feel you're moving deep in depression or a mental state that is destroying you, then you move the string to this side and bring the light and the warmth of the suns to you, and you center. And remember I said, your path is not straight. You will not always be perfectly centered, but you want to remain as close as possible to center. So you move back and forth by simply adjusting your string. Bill's string theory. You can do this anytime, any place, And nobody else is going to have any idea what in the world you're doing. You can sit there and do this and go, whoop, 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 whoop. And they'll think you're nuts, but they won't know what you're doing. But that's what you'll be doing. That's the gift I leave you today. On Christmas 2021, I left the gift of a new world. Today, I leave you the gift of Bill's string theory. And I'd like to close by sharing with you words that came to me Friday morning doing the sunrise meditation with Pam McIntyre. Sometimes during the meditation, we receive things, but we always receive things, whether we pay attention to them or not, whether we are aware of them or not. We always receive something in a meditation. So these are the words that I received on Friday. To recognize that this thought comes from the physical and this thought comes from the spiritual is awareness. To recognize that they are the same thought is enlightenment. I'll read that one more time. To recognize that this thought comes from the physical and this thought comes from the spiritual is awareness. It means you're aware. To recognize that they are the same thought is enlightenment. Thank you for allowing me to share.